Hey guys, welcome to Technibility. What we have here today is an interesting comparison, one that really isn't that conventional because you don't have the same operating system being compared. No, instead you have Windows Phone right here on the right hand side for my peripheral, a Nokia Lumia 928, and on the left hand side you have the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, both for their respective carriers. The Note 2 is unlocked, but it's running for T-Mobile, and the same could be said for the Lumia 928. It's Verizon, but it's unlocked, being used for T-Mobile as well. So first thing first, let's get into that. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, it's unlocked, it's for Verizon, does that mean that it's 4G compatible? Yes, that does mean that the Nokia Lumia for Verizon is 4G compatible for T-Mobile. There's some APN settings that you gotta mess with, but it's possible. Do a little bit of research, it's there. Now with the Note 2, it's LTE compatible with T-Mobile because it is a T-Mobile phone. And even if it wasn't a T-Mobile phone, the unlocked AT&T version has LTE compatibility for T-Mobile. So you will be getting that either way. Now, just to go through the hardware specs of both, the Note 2 is running on a quad-core processor, Exynos. It's 2 GB RAM. Okay, internal storage is 16 and 32, expandable internal storage, and also a removable battery. You can go ahead and just look at the phone right here. Plastic casing, removable backplate, which is great if you're going to put flip covers on it, because what happens is it removes the backplate, replaces the backplate, and gives you a flip cover with that. Now with the Nokia Lumia, of course you have a polycarbonate build. There's no removable battery, there's no expandable storage, but it's very durable and very sturdy. It's a nice looking phone, it's sleek, resembles the old Nokia N9 design that was running MeeGo after they had ditched Symbian, in which then Nokia ditched MeeGo and went with Windows Phone. So you can see both designs. They have the 3.5mm headphone jack, both utilize micro USB charging, so they're universal. If you have an Android charger, it's going to work with the Nokia. If you have a Nokia charger, it's going to work with the Android. So that's on the hardware end. Oh, and just to mention the cameras, both are 8 megapixel cameras. The front facings are 1.3, so it's 1.3 front facing camera and then 8 megapixel rear camera. One is a Carl Zeiss, the other is, Samsung's TouchWiz camera, or at least the TouchWiz features if you're running TouchWiz. So both cameras do work exceptionally well, and both of them also have speaker grills on the bottom. You can see that, which if you have the phone laid out on its back, can be a problem because it gets muffled out. But they do have cases for these things that have kickstands, so you should be fine in that regard. Now getting into the software, obviously these things are running two completely different systems. You have Windows Phone 8, you have Android Jelly Bean 4.2.2. Now with this specific build of the Note 2, it's CM10.1, LTE compatible CM10.1, mind you. And if you guys are familiar with CM10.1 or just stock Jelly Bean in general, then you know that this build is built all around its simplicity, the fact that it's very minimal, the fact that it's completely fast and fluid. You can see in terms of operations, notification bar, you got the quick settings. Opening a folder is easy. Creating a folder is just as easy. Oops, the screen's locked there. Creating a folder is just as easy. Take that out, put it back. If you go to the settings, you can see CM10 has a boatload of customizations, and that goes all the way to the lock screen, to the launcher, to the dock. So if I go here to launcher, for example, and I go to home screen, you can see there's grid size options, home screen options, stretch screen, which basically takes the icons and stretches it to the actual size of your screen width-wise. Scroll wallpaper, transition effects, which you could change. You can see all the different transition effects. And just to throw this out there, you guys, maybe if you don't know this, you don't get this with stock Android. This is specifically with CM10.1, and in some cases, Paranoid Android and other ROMs that are based on CM. So you can see a ton of home screen settings, a ton of app drawer settings. The dock has a lot of settings. You could change the amount of docks that you have. You could change the icon sizes. You could hide the icon labels. You could show or remove the dock divider of where the dock is located. In general, I believe it's just auto rotation, lock, home screen, and full screen mode. So tons of options with CM10, and obviously with those options, you have theme removals and whatnot. And you have performance options as well. So with performance options, you're going to get all sorts of different ways to customize your CPU, to underclock it, to overvolt it. So if you want to save battery, which it's not really necessary with the Note 2, guys. You're talking about a 3100 milliamp battery. There's really no need to underclock or undervolt your phone. Of course, if you look at the About phone here, you can see 4.2.2 and CyanogenMod right here. Okay, it's the latest nightly, which also is updatable through the settings. So you can go to CyanogenMod settings and update the nightlies directly through there, which is really a cool feature. And by the way, guys, for all you guys asking about S Pen, does not have S Pen functionality. So that's one of the drawbacks here. You're not going to get the S Pen functionality. And for those of you who are buyers of the Note 2, and you know, you bought it for that specific reason, to use it as a quote unquote phablet, that's something that you're definitely going to be missing out on. Now over here with Windows Phone, you have a much different philosophy to the way that Microsoft does things. Obviously, you have open source Linux with Android, right? So you can flash custom ROMs, you can flash custom bootloaders, you can flash custom radios and kernels and whatnot. With Windows Phone, it has more of that Apple mentality of closed system, but what they've done with that closed system is they've allowed cross-platforming with Windows 8. So they're basically trying to make everything one unified OS, and you got to give Microsoft credit for that, because Windows Phone, you know, even though they're at a 5% market share, Windows Phone has been touted as a really good operating system by a lot of tech fanatics. So you can see Windows Phone right here. The first thing you're going to notice is how smooth it is. I mean, just the jumping over scroll effects, the bounce effects, it's just fantastic. I mean, overall usage of the phone is so consistent. If I open the camera, for example, it opens immediately. If I open my messages, it opens immediately. If I open Internet Explorer, it's immediate. If I want to pinch zoom in Internet Explorer, it's the fastest pinch zoom I think I've ever used in my life. You can see here, it's a little bit, you have the 3-dot menu, which again, if you've used stock Android, you're used to. Now, this is one thing that I wish they would change. I wish they would have a little button here for tabs. Instead, what they've done is they've put the 3-dot menu and then you have to click on the tab. So it's just an extra step, which, you know, these days with the phones and the speed and the quad cores and all these crazy features that they add with, you know, the Samsung phones and whatnot, it'd be nice to minimize some of those steps, because there's so much competition. Now, in terms of comparing both, let me just go ahead and open up the messaging for both of them. I just don't want to do that on the screen because I may have. Okay, so let's look at the messaging apps for both. Alright, so you could see, hey, they're not that different. You know, I mean, obviously very minimal on the Windows end, and Android, what they're trying to go for is the minimal look. And obviously iOS is also trying to do that, but Android has been going with that holo minimal feel, utilitarian feel with their OS, but it's more consistent across the board with Windows Phone. Now, in terms of keyboards, I'm going to leave this up to Varo to discuss which keyboard he likes better. Varo?
Well, in my personal opinion, I honestly think that they did an excellent job on the keyboard for Windows Phone. It's, you know, very fluid. Its error correction is fantastic, and it just operates, you know, a lot better than I would say Android. And nevertheless, Android is a wonderful keyboard as it stands. However, in this particular case, I would say, you know, Windows Phone definitely does a much better job with the keyboard.
Thank you, Varo. I agree. I think Windows Phone does have one of the most responsive, if not arguably the most responsive keyboard on the market today. Now, that's not to say that Android doesn't have a responsive keyboard, but it's a little bit a step behind. I mean, it's still very responsive, and you're talking about a 5.5-inch screen here on the Note 2, so it's still super fast. Let me just go ahead and open a thread here. It's still super fast, but it's just not as super responsive as you get with Windows Phone. So let's try the voice dictation here with both. Hey, how are you? Do you want to go to the beach today? I think it's really nice in Malibu and the weather seems very good. Alright, you know what? That was about equal. I think both of them responded to that. And look, the Samsung is still going, which is something that's really cool. Let me zoom in on that. Hey, what's up? You're watching Technibility, your source for no-nonsense tech. Now, let's see how fast it could type. Let's see if it could type this fast. I don't think it will. Windows Phone, Apple, iPhone, Android. No, I don't think it'll do it this fast. Nah, it didn't. It got stuck. But it's okay. I mean, who the hell talks that fast unless you're one of those micro car racer people. Remember that guy? All right, so you see the text messaging apps, you know, similar keyboards and whatnot. Now, in terms of maps, obviously on this one you're going to get Nokia Drive, which I haven't set up, and I apologize for that, guys. But Nokia Drive and Nokia Navigation is fantastic, just as is Google Maps. Fantastic Maps app, fantastic navigation, guys. Immediate, and this pinch zoom on this Maps is, I don't care what anybody says, just as good as anything else. You could say I could pan around the screen as I'm pinch zooming, which they call 5-finger multi-touch, and the same same goes for the browser here with the Note 2. If I open the browser and I pinch, I can pan around the screen as I'm pinching, okay, which is really nice. It's a nice little touch. It just adds to the fluidity of it, which it is fluid. Now, is it as fluid as Windows Phone? Probably not, but that has a lot to do with the GPU acceleration above anything else. So let's go ahead and exit these and see which one exits a little bit faster. Okay, see, Windows Phone has that nice pretty little animation. And speaking of animations, one thing Windows Phone is lacking that they desperately need, that I think they're going to release with 8.1, is a notification center. Now, the one thing is with Windows Phone, one thing that kind of irks me is that I have to swipe down to see my signal and whatnot. And where that becomes an issue is that with certain third-party apps, or even apps that are built into Windows Phone, you can't swipe down and see the status bar, which gets kind of annoying after a while. Whereas with Android, obviously you have the option to just swipe down your notification bar to check out all of your notifications, to reply to notifications, to close and swipe out pictures. If you have a screenshot, you can share that screenshot directly from the notification bar. So a ton of features on that end. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the cameras. So let's go ahead and just take a look at both cameras here. Now, you'll notice right off the bat, one of the main differences with these cameras is that the Lumia has a dedicated camera key, which is very rare on phones these days. Alright, so let's see which one takes faster pictures if we just click here. Okay, so I think the Note wins in that regard, but in any case, let's look at the quality here. Alright, you can see the quality on the Lumia is fantastic. 8 megapixel camera, definitely tops in my opinion, and the Note also has an 8 megapixel camera, has a little bit of a wider shot. You can auto rotate both, and you can see how auto rotate looks on both of them. A little bit prettier on the Lumia, obviously has that little animation, but still nothing to frown upon with Android. So if we zoom in here, you can see at 100% crop, the Note 2 looks good color saturation, both AMOLED displays, both AMOLED. This is Super AMOLED, this is clear black AMOLED as Nokia likes to call it. So swiping through pictures is also very similar. So if we were to rotate back here and swipe, it's basically the same. If I zoom down, I get my pane of pictures. If you zoom down on the Note 2, let's see, so if you zoom down here, it's the same. And you could just kind of go through them, so they're similar in that regard. So, you know, these operating systems, for as different as they are, do take certain features from one another. And that's something that definitely is interesting with these devices. So that's what we're going to cover here in part 1 of this video, guys. You know, there's a lot more to go through, which we will be going through in part 2, so check my channel out for that. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, and thank you for watching Technibility. I'm Berge, and I'm here with Varo. Thank you guys for watching. Take care and have a good day.